Hello, everybody. My name is David Falconer. I'm the International Volunteer Program Coordinator for Smart Osvita. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and share with you information that will allow you to make some decisions in regards to whether or not you wish to be involved with this incredible program that now it's really taken the whole entire world by storm. We have literally lots and lots of teachers from all over the world that are emailing us and saying, can we please get information about how we can get involved in supporting these thousands of Ukrainian students in Ukraine who right now do not have access to regular schooling. So what I'm planning to do for the next number of minutes is to share with you the information that you will need to basically make a decision. I will begin right from the beginning, how I got to know Smart Osvita through my first lesson, and then detailed information that you will need to basically get ready for your first lesson. So how did it start? Basically, I can go back 6 months ago when I received an email from Smart Osvita. And at the time, I had no idea who Smart Osvita was. All I know is that I read the email and it said something that was very clear to me, which was the war has started, Russia has invaded Ukraine, and now there are thousands of displaced students throughout Ukraine that are needing our help. And we're looking for volunteers, teachers throughout the world who would be willing to give an hour of their time, either once a week or maybe just once, to share with these students what the world has to offer. Basically, let them know that there's still a future, there's still lots of opportunities to dream, and that there's a whole entire world there that is thinking about them and want to support them. So at that time, again, very little information about Smart Osvita, and I really didn't know what I was jumping into in the sense of what these lessons were going to look like, sound like, feel like, but I was committed. I knew that there were thousands of kids there that needed my help, needed our help. And I was committing to doing my part in letting them know that there were lots of people like me that cared about them. So what I learned later is that the Smart Osvita is a non-for-profit organization that started back in 2016. And its purpose is to basically work with the Ministry of Science and Education in Ukraine with the idea of supporting them update the Ukrainian school system. The information that I've gathered in the last number of months is that the Ukrainian school system has basically been lagging behind the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. And Smart Osvita came basically with the idea of supporting the ministry to update the school system. And what that meant was to look at the resources that schools were using to provide professional development that teachers were not getting, working with students and working with parents, and basically working with all the different stakeholders throughout Ukraine to bring the school system in Ukraine to the 21st century. Bit of information about the school system. If you look at the assessment results for Ukrainian students, they are lagging behind. So this support that Smart Osvita has been providing now, the Ministry of Education and Science, has really been beneficial to them because a lot of teachers are now being provided with the opportunity to learn about all these different things that we know about here in Canada, or we know in Australia, or throughout the world, to be innovative ways of delivering lessons to students. Unfortunately, as we know, on February the 24th, Russia invaded Ukraine, and Smart Osvita had to do an incredible shift in terms of its focus. Within 24 hours, they had to look at providing support to thousands of Ukrainian kids, and also not just Ukrainian kids, but Ukrainian teachers who themselves had been displaced because of the war. And what I mean by displaced is that they had to move away from their homes. Some of them were basically in regions of Ukraine that were immediately invaded by Russia. And these teachers had to move away to other communities. Some of them even left the country. But one of the things that we knew, and they knew, Smart Osvita knew, is the fact that these teachers wanted to continue to do their part in terms of delivering lessons to these Ukrainian kids. Hard work, but amazingly, Smart Osvita was able to put together and coordinate all this work to ensure that even though the war had started, that Ukrainian students could continue to receive online lessons from teachers. The part where I got involved is the fact that beyond the Ukrainian teachers, Smart Osvita started to look at the world and asking educators like me and many others today for help. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to be sharing with you what that journey has looked like for me. And hopefully it's going to provide you with enough information that at the end of this session, you will be able to have enough details to make an informed decision as to whether or not you wish to get involved. So what was it for me? What it was like for me? I remember that first session like if it was really had happened today. I just sat behind my laptop and I had a Ukrainian host who basically welcomed me and was waiting for me to begin my lesson. As I sat there and just waiting, because he said to me, just let's wait for a few minutes to invite the kids to come in. I just started looking at the number of students that were coming in, and I realized that in a very short period of time, the numbers went from 1 to 10, 15, 30, 50. Within less than a minute, I was looking at 300 students there waiting for me to begin the lesson. I was ready. But definitely the number of students that I had in front of me, it was overwhelming. It really felt overwhelming. Yet very soon after I started, I realized that these kids were very interested in being there with me, and they really wanted to know about Canada, because my whole lesson was actually about what it's like to live in the Canadian Arctic and to learn about polar bears and icebergs and northern lights and so on. And I started sharing that story of what it's like to live in the Canadian Arctic. And the experience that I was having literally within a few minutes, it was just incredible. The kids were just asking me questions and they wanted to know about polar bears and icebergs and what it was like to live in the Canadian Arctic, where during the summer we get basically 24-hour sunshine, and during the winter we get basically total darkness. And these kids were not just simply interested in learning about where I lived, but also they were very interested in knowing who this person was. And not that I had not shared enough information at the beginning, in the sense that I introduced myself. I said, I'm David Falconer, I'm an educator. This is where I live, this is where I work, this is my family. I shared with them photographs, but they were also very interested about other things, which I will share with you later on. One of the things that I immediately discovered is that these kids wanted also me to know who they are. And as you can see, this little girl on the photograph, she wanted to show me her pet mouse. And I will never forget her, because she just kept putting that pet mouse right next to the camera. And I basically immediately, when I noticed that, I stopped what I was talking about and I paid attention to her and I focused on her, her pet mouse. And I said, what a beautiful pet mouse you have. And then she started sharing with me how much she likes this pet mouse. There was another student who, who was asking me, well, okay, how many provinces are there in Canada? And what's the capitals of Canada and so on? But there were others that were asking me questions such as, Mr. David, what is your favorite food? And it was very interesting question, because didn't think I was going to be asked those types of questions, but I thought, immediately I thought, yeah, these kids, just as I'm interested in getting to know them, they're also very interested in getting to know me. And I remember answering this boy and saying to him, whose name is Alex, and you see his response to my comment when we had this online session. I said to him, Alex, I said, my favorite food is pizza and pasta. And if I could eat pizza and pasta every day, I would. And he later on, he sent me this text where he basically tells me that he would love to visit Canada. And he then tells me that he likes pizza and pasta too. So I replied to Alex, who I know quite well now. And I said, Alex, I look forward to the day when you and I are going to be able to sit down and have pizza and pasta together, whether it's here in Canada or whether it's in Ukraine. And that's what happens when you begin to do these sessions and you go and experience these moments with these kids, is that you begin to connect. These sessions are very much about connections. Sure, we prepare a lesson plan. Sure, we come up with topics of interest, but it's not about at the end of that lesson, that session, to sort of do an assessment of whether or not they remember all the details that you've shared with them. These sessions are about connecting with them and letting them know that there's somebody behind the screen that really cares about them. And they will let you know that they also care about you, because they will ask you some beautiful questions, incredible questions, where you're going to feel the interest that they have in getting to know you and how they want to develop these relationships. This girl on the right hand side, her name is Sophia. I've known now for several months, and I've got to know her quite well. I know her interests. I know what she likes. I know her family. I know her mom. And it's incredible when you get to those points when you're able to get to know enough of these kids that then you're able to get insight in terms of what are the things that they wish to hear in the future? What are the things that they wish you to teach on your next sessions? And I'm at a point with those, with kids where they constantly are asking me, Mr. David, would you? And of course, my response is always, of course. And so I have a long list of things that they have shared with me that I'm slowly putting together and slowly presenting to the volunteers that are currently part of this program. One of the things that I have most enjoyed is inviting guests, and I've had the opportunity to invite two incredible guests, totally, separate in terms of their interest, but yet something that they have very much in common, and is that they love children. On the right, we have a very famous Canadian magician. His name is Chris Pillsworth, who came and has did a whole session on magic. And at first, I was kind of wondering whether or not this would actually work well. But by talking to others, including my own wife, we came to the conclusion that these kids, join these sessions because they want to be able to get away from their reality. And we know what the reality is like today. And they join and they want to be able to listen to your story. And at the time when this idea came up, we thought, something, bringing a magician would be fantastic. And take a look at the faces in these photographs. You see this little boy there at the top, just looking so excited. And Chris did an amazing job. I mean, we had hundreds of kids showing up, and they were laughing. They were asking Chris to repeat some of the tricks. They were asking Chris to reveal some of his tricks. And by the end of that evening, boy, you could just feel that how these kids, we're going to have a beautiful memory from this session. The other thing that I want you to notice is the fact that, for example, this little girl here at the bottom happens to be there with her mother. One of the things that I know and that I share with volunteers is the fact that there are many moms right now that are single moms in Ukraine. Their husbands have literally been sent to fight. They're living their lives in trenches. And so these moms are there by themselves. So some of them are still able to live in their homes. Some others have moved to other communities. Some are actually coming to you from bomb shelters. And they join these sessions. I remember a number of months ago, I was asked, well, are these sessions not supposed to be just for kids? And my immediate answer was, well, absolutely, but yet, let's welcome those moms. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that I hope is that the mother with her kids are going to be able to talk about these sessions rather than talk about the ugly reality that's happening outside their walls. So that opportunity to be able to have a conversation where they're talking about the magician, or they're talking about the teacher who taught them about what it's like to live in northern Canada, or the teacher who's taught them how to play chess or play Pokemon cards, or maybe something more, challenging, like what it's like to do algebra. It allows the mom and their children to have a conversation that brings them together, and it allows them to forget that reality. And most importantly, to know that there's still a future. There's still a future that they can plan and that they can think about dreams are still allowed and they can continue to have dreams. So this opportunity for moms and their kids to join these sessions is something that we enjoy and that we support. The other person that I wish to share with you that did a fabulous job was Chris Hadfield. Of course, our very famous Canadian astronaut, but he is well known throughout the world. And Chris, he has piloted the space shuttle. He piloted the space shuttle, I think, twice. He also was the commander of the International Space Station. And I mean, for somebody to get to that point, obviously you have to be really good at it. And I had heard that Chris was a fabulous speaker and that he loved doing sessions. But when he came on to do his session, I just sat there and I listened to him. And boy, did he ever do a fantastic, presentation. Obviously, I am not an astronaut, but one of the things that I learned from Chris is the importance of connecting with kids. And that's why I say to volunteers when they come and join these introductory sessions, go and watch Chris Hadfield's YouTube video, which we have available on our own Facebook. Because one of the things that you will see is how much fun Chris is having with these kids and how much fun these kids are having with Chris. They laugh and he tells some silly, silly stories. I mean, this is a fellow that had to be very careful about, running the International Space Station. I mean, tremendous responsibility. But he shares the funny, silly things that astronauts do in the space station just to have fun. And the kids were laughing. And I thought, this is a perfect example of the things that all of us need to do when we connect with these kids, to have fun, to laugh with them, and to definitely answer those questions, because boy, are they ever going to have questions for you. A lot of the questions will have a lot to do with the topic that you're sharing, but also there will be some questions like Alex that have absolutely nothing to do with the session, yet they're important to answer. I remember during another one of my sessions, a girl stopped me and said, "Mr. David, I have a question." And by then I had learned that it could either be about the lesson itself or it could be about something else. And I remember saying to her, "What's your question?" And she said, "Mr. David, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?" And I remember looking and seeing her face and so on, and she just was staring at me. And I said, "Oh, my favorite ice cream flavor, Neapolitan." Absolutely. I've been eating Neapolitan ice cream since I was a little kid, and I still do. And I love Neapolitan ice cream. Well, for the next 5 minutes, the whole conversation turned into ice cream flavors. And that was okay. The kids were having fun. And for that brief period of time, they were able to forget their ugly reality. And that's what these sessions are about again. They're about taking them away, emotionally away from that reality of having to deal with tanks outside their walls or with army trucks, with people that really don't care about them. So for that brief period of time, we were laughing. We were literally united, and we were talking about life, and we're talking about those things that bring joy to us. One of the things that I have been so pleased with is the fact that so many groups have come and have said, we want to get involved. And here's just a short list now of the many organizations that have done sessions. Some of them continue to actually do sessions. The list of teachers, it continues to grow. We have now teachers not just from Thailand, Canada, Dubai, Philippines, Australia. It's moved to Singapore, to Portugal, to France, Australia. I mean, it continues to grow, and we continue to welcome teachers from all over because it is important. It's a very important program, and we want to make sure that we have enough volunteers to keep it alive. And in terms of teachers, well, those teachers have been like Chris Hadfield, astronaut. We have a movie director who will soon get involved and who is just really getting excited about being able to prepare a whole entire session of what it's like to be a movie director. We have yoga instructors. We have magicians and singers. We have people that have gone to the backyard, their own backyard, and shown the kids what a vegetable Canadian garden looks like. And they've shared with kids their tomato plants, that they've shared with them the beautiful trees that are found in their backyard. So these lessons don't necessarily need to be delivered by teachers. We're looking for people that have a love for something, that have a hobby, that have an interest, and that they are quite ready to share those with kids. And the last number of months since I started inviting volunteers, that list has grown. And it's just incredible to hear the kids share with us how much they've enjoyed all these lessons. And again, the lessons have gone from algebra, chemistry lessons to, playing Pokemon cards or learning how to play chess. And we even have had line dancing. So the possibilities are endless. Information about the kids and where they are. Half the children that we have right now joining these lessons are in Eastern Ukraine. They're in the Kharkiv region, Mariupol, and others. The other half are all over Ukraine, but now we know that many of them have also left Ukraine. So during these sessions, as I have already mentioned, we have kids that are joining these lessons from Germany, from Poland, from the Czech Republic, Algeria, Egypt, Spain, Canada. And I've actually been asked the question, well, why would they join these sessions if they're already out of the country? Well, they're out of the country not because they chose to leave. It's not like they were planning to leave Ukraine. We know that during good times, people can make those choices. They can choose to leave their country and go somewhere else where maybe there's better work, maybe they have family somewhere else. In this case, these children and families had to leave because a war started and their lives were in danger. So for these kids and parents to connect to these sessions, it's one way of still being connected to their homeland, to still being connected to other moms, to still be connected to other kids. So we invite them all and we welcome them when we see them. We always say to them, it's so nice to see you and what a show we're going to have today. We also know that they're accessing these lessons from cell phones, iPads, laptops, and those are the things that we have to be very sensitive about. Not everybody has access to a good laptop that allows them to show their faces and be able to speak. Some of them are reaching these sessions by using some just old cell phones. So they're not able to show their faces. In some cases, they're not able to really speak. Sometimes they just simply send texts, and that's how we communicate with them. So one of the things that we do and we pay close attention to when we do these sessions is to be sensitive. The fact that our world is really totally different than their world. The circumstances, the pressures that they're experiencing are such that we need to let them know that, look, the fact that you're here today with us makes us happy. And we're going to put our 100% in sharing with you everything we know, everything we have, so that we have a joyful moment. Here's a question. And I think you already, by the things that I've said, you already know the answer. Why is this program needed? Well, let me share with you even more information as to why this program is needed. We received this text a number of weeks ago, and one that I share with prospective volunteers because it really says a lot about the importance of these sessions. It reads, "Hello, I'm from Irpin. Me and Mom were hiding in the basement when the bombs went up and the roof in front blew off. There's such a big hole. Sorry, I can't take a picture." And then she ends her text with, "Thanks for the lessons." This is a young child who has just experienced something horrible. And yet she's sharing the importance of these lessons. And that message is very clear. Don't stop, continue for as long as you can. And that's why I'm here with you, because I want to make sure that this program is sustainable. And for that to happen, we need volunteers. CBC, which is our national news channel, and Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. In Australia, it's ABC. Other countries have others. Did a whole show on this particular program. And it was interesting that they interviewed Sophia, the girl that you saw in the photograph on one of my first slides, and her mom, whose name is Julia. And they asked Julia, whether or not this program is important. And Julia was able to describe this program as giving these kids an island of normal life. She explained that as a mom, for her to know that Sophia can join these daily lessons allows Sophia to know that there is a future, that dreams can continue to happen, that there are lots of people in other places that really care about them, and that they will give their time to be with these children. Talking to Julia just a few days ago, because I've gotten to know her well, she said to me, David, this is so important, and please do as much as you can to make sure that this program continues. And I've said to Julia, I will continue to do this. I'm asking Julia to help me with Sophia and other kids, to let me know what are the things that we can be doing to keep these kids coming to these sessions, because we want to make sure that they know that they also can have a say in terms of what these sessions are like. So with Sophia and Julia, they have been amazing support to the program. And as I said, for Sophia, it's really truly a lifeline. It's what allows Sophia to feel that, yes, I have a future. I am 12 years old, and yet I have a future. I can continue to think about what my life will be like when this war ends, when I graduate from high school, when I go to university. And those are the things that we want these kids to continue thinking about. So as the work continues, we have a number of needs. And when I started, my job was just strictly deliver online sessions. Now that I'm more involved with this organization, I've learned a lot more about what their needs are. So in this particular slide, I'm going to share with you the different things that we're looking for. So there are many different opportunities for volunteers. Definitely, we have a need for lots of volunteers, because we have right now approximately 45 sessions a week that we're trying to fill. And that is approximately 180 plus sessions a month. People have asked me, well, don't you have already more than 45 teachers that could be doing these weekly sessions? Why do you need to continue to recruit more? Well, here's the challenge, is that not every teacher that we have is able to do a lesson every day, or every week, or every 2 weeks, or every 3 weeks. Some teachers have said to us, I can do a lesson once a month. So when you realize that you're not going to have all these teachers doing lessons every day, you realize that, okay, we need to have a lot more than 45, a lot more than 100 teachers, a lot more than 200 teachers to be able to have all these sessions totally filled every week, so that these kids can have accessibility to these presentations that, again, are helping them know that we care, that the world cares, and that they do have a future. So definitely a need for volunteers. The other is that we're looking for educators, people that are ready and willing to do sessions for kids who are kindergarten age all the way up to grade 12. So for teachers who have the experience of for kindergarten kids, we need you. If you have their teachers there who have experience to teaching kids in grade 3, grade 5, grade 10, and so on, we need you. We also need teachers who have very specialized sort of senior high school experience teaching courses such as chemistry, biology, physics, algebra. So if you have that experience and you're able to tutor students in those 4 subjects, please let us know. What we know is that these last number of months have really put these kids behind, and they have come to us. They've gone all the way to Smart Osvita in Kyiv and have basically provided feedback to them saying, look, we need tutors. We need teachers who will help us remember, our physics, our chemistry, our biology, our algebra. So if you have that background, please let us know, because we could definitely get you to, schedule you to get to meet these kids and work with them, and they will come. One of the things about that I keep saying to volunteers is that these kids join these sessions because they want to. Nobody's forcing them. So when they join these lessons, they're there because they know that you're going to be sharing something that is of interest to them. And so all the lessons that we have had, the volunteers have all said, what an amazing group of kids. And having experienced that, and I continue to experience that, I know that they're right, they're correct. Amazing group of kids. Times and days needed. Right now, we're looking for volunteers that can basically be available, and these are all Kyiv time, from 10 o'clock in the morning to 7 p.m. being the last session. That's when the last session would start. So if you are able to do a session at 10 a.m. or 3 p.m. at 7 p.m., we would love to see you. And in terms of days, any day between Monday to Saturday. Now, right now, we don't have Saturday available because unfortunately, we don't have enough volunteers to fill Saturdays. But I have added Saturday to this slide with the hope that we will have more volunteers that will say, hey, I would love to do a Saturday session. And so if you're one of those, please let us know, because these kids, their world, it doesn't end on Friday. The world continues on the Saturday and the Sunday. Sunday, we leave that day for the moms and the dads and their kids. But definitely Saturday, it's another day that we could use help with. So is there a need for more volunteers? Absolutely. Something else that we have heard is the need for providing professional development for Ukrainian teachers. And I know that I've been asked a number of times, well, why would they need professional development when they're in a war? And it's a good question. It's a valid question. Why would they? Because a lot of the teachers actually, again, they are the front. Some of them are in trenches. And why would they need professional development? Well, the reason why they need professional development is that it allows them to continue to remember that they're teachers, that they have a profession, and that one day soon they're going to be able to return to that classroom and be with children. That's why they got into the profession, because they love what they do. And they have said, we realize that we're in the middle of a war, but if there are foreign teachers, foreign educators that can give us professional development opportunities, please let them know that we're here, that we're waiting. So if you have an expertise in a particular subject, it could be special education, it could be around assessment, please let us know, because we have right now a professional development committee that would love to hear from you. And they will be able to provide you all the details to be able to get you going on your first scheduled session with Ukrainian teachers. So professional development is definitely an area that we're in need of. And if you have that interest, let us know. Help with fundraising. This country is going through so many challenges. One of the big ones is the fact that many of the people there have not gotten paid, but yet they continue to work. The people at Smart Osvita, the staff at Smart Osvita, right now, they're under a lot of pressure. And so the need to start doing some fundraising to provide Smart Osvita with the means, the financial means to continue this program is crucial. Without them there, this program would not exist. That's the reality. This program happens because We give the Smart Osvita the information in terms of who the teachers are, the lessons that they're going to be doing, and everything else. And then Smart Osvita basically ensures that we have the Zoom links and we have hosts that will be able to provide volunteer teachers the support that they need to do their lessons. So we're looking for ways to fundraise to help Smart Osvita to continue to move forward. Smart Osvita is also providing all sorts of financial support, even now, trying to do their best in providing financial support to families. So they are themselves trying to help families. But obviously, the challenge is huge. When they themselves do not have enough funds to keep things going, giving the little bit that they have to somebody else makes things very difficult. So if you have experience doing fundraising, we would really like to hear from you. IT support to create a learning management system and a volunteer scheduling system. Right now, we have a very old-fashioned way of arranging the scheduling for instructors, teachers. Basically, we use a Google Doc. That's what we're using. And it works. And yet, one of the things that we need is find a more efficient way of ensuring that when we get this information from teachers, that we are able to then put it in a system that will do things very fast. Because right now, this whole entire scheduling is being done by two people. And really, right now, it's only one. And that is my dear colleague, Margaret Mueller, who started volunteering for this program about 2.5 months ago. And if it wasn't for her, I would definitely be in a lot of trouble. So we need people that have IT skills that can help us in either developing or have ways of knowing about programs that would allow us to be more efficient in terms of scheduling volunteers. The second one is provide a Smart Osvita with an LMS, basically a learning management system. For that, what I'm talking about is being able to have a system that would allow them to organize the students, organize their teachers, because school is supposed to be starting fairly soon. And right now, again, thousands of displaced students throughout Ukraine. How do you ensure that teachers know where their students are? Well, best way to do it is by utilizing a learning management system. And right now, unfortunately, we do not have one. So if you have expertise, or if you have connections with an organization that could provide us with a learning management system, we would love to hear from you. The administrative support with scheduling speakers, that in itself is a huge job. And so for people that like to work behind curtains, this is an opportunity to provide support to Margaret and myself. And so just to ensure that we're able to answer all the emails on time, that we're able to ensure that we send the Zoom links to our volunteers on time. There's all sorts of things that we need to do to make this program continue to happen. And so if you have time to volunteer a couple of hours a day or a week, or even a month, please let us know, because we would sure appreciate your support. The next slides I'm going to share with you are about how to get going on your sessions. What are the things that you need to be aware of when the host says to you, ready? Now, kids are waiting for you. So these are things that I have learned, but also things that I have learned from my own colleagues in Kyiv. Things that they have said to me, David, these are key things that we want to make sure the volunteers do when they do these online sessions. The first one is to start the presentation with, it's nice to see you, rather than say to the kids, hey, how are you all doing? The reason for that is that how are you all doing? It's okay when we're here at home in Canada and Australia, in a country that's not experiencing a war. The focus of these lessons are to take these kids away from that war. So if you ask them, how are you doing? Rather than taking them away from that war, you're basically taking them back into that reality of being in a city that could likely be occupied by Russian forces. And we have those students right now. We have those students. So we stay away from the how are you all doing? And instead we say, it's so nice to see you. And that's how I start my sessions. Every time that I start a session with children, I always say, it's so nice to see you. And what a show we're going to have today. And I show that excitement in the way that I look, the way that I sound, and you can immediately see how they join you. It was a number of, I say about a month and a half ago that I thought of an analogy to help volunteers think in terms of what these sessions are supposed to be like right from the beginning. And the best example that I could come up with was, it's like taking a child for a walk at the park. Imagine this, it's a beautiful day, blue sky, the temperature is perfect, trees are looking beautiful, the grass is green. Maybe you're walking down this park bare feet, and there you are with a child, maybe a number of children. And as you're walking, you're having this conversation where you're sharing with them something of interest, something that you enjoy. And these kids are there with you because they want to learn from you. They want to hear your story. And as you go down, the minutes go by and you keep walking down this park, you continue to share with them this beautiful moment, and you're laughing, they're asking questions. And by the end of the session, you basically say to them, it was so nice to be here with you. And they will know that time is limited, that it's 1 hour session, but they will feel the love that you have for them. They'll be so appreciative of the time that you have given them. That's what these moments are supposed to be like. Imagine that moment, taking a child or a number of children for a walk at the park, and you're just enjoying that moment. So that it's so nice to see you right from the beginning. It's the beginning. It's the start of that walk down this beautiful park. The presentation itself, what are things that I have learned? And I have to say, a good thing that I actually was ready for this when I did my first session, because it definitely had not been shared. It's a good idea to introduce yourself right at the beginning. And I'm not talking introducing yourself with just a name and that you are an educator or you're a gardener or a mechanic, but more than just that. Introduce yourself. Who are you? Who is that person sitting behind you? One of the things that I've learned is that these kids are experiencing a lot of people that they don't know right now. Their communities have changed. In some cases, like I said, some of these communities where a lot of these kids live have been occupied by Russian forces. So we know that those people that are currently walking down their streets are not nice people. And these are people that are not going to be sharing with them who they are, and that they have no interest in letting these kids know who they are. So when you come on and you start your session, let them know who you are. Share with them family photos. Let them know where you live. Show them a map of your city, your town, of your country. Pinpoint exactly where your town is. Share photographs of your friends, where you went to school, maybe where you work. Those things are important because you're basically opening up a door. You're letting them know that you want them to get to know you. You're letting them know that you're vulnerable and that you want to have, a good friendship with them where you're going to get to know each other. So always introduce yourself. So if you take 5 minutes out of the 60-minute session that these sessions last, that's okay. If you want to take 10 minutes because, hey, perhaps that introduction is part of your lesson, do that. And these kids, they're going to be asking you questions, and be ready for those questions that have nothing to do with your lesson. When they ask you those questions, smile and answer. And you will find that your session is going to go literally just super fast. You're going to be surprised how fast these sessions go. Speak slower than normal. Use simple words. We have to remember that these kids are Ukrainian-speaking children, and as such, you need to speak slower and use simple words. I have to say, a lot of the kids speak very good English. So, but we want to make sure that we're not just speaking to the few that speak very good English, that we're speaking to all the kids. So speak slower than normal and use simple words. Sometimes I say to people, well, if you remember the old TV show, Mr. Rogers, use him sort of as an example. He spoke very slowly and he used simple words. Do the same. And if there's a hard word that maybe you're going to be using in your session, that's okay. You can put that word right at the beginning of your lesson. Say, well, today we're going to be using a word that you've never used before, and give the meaning of that word. And then things are going to be fine. But again, speak slower than normal. Use simple words. I know I've said it a number of times, but this part is so important. And watching Chris Hadfield and do this, it just reinforced the importance of point number 3 here. Take the time to answer the kids' questions. So don't think about your lesson. Don't sort of be looking at that sheet that says, okay, this is number 1, number 2, number 3, and I have to complete, 10 things here before the end of these 60 minutes. That's not important. What's important is that you communicate with these kids, that you connect with these kids, that you develop that friendship, that they develop that knowledge that you are somebody that cares about them. So take the time to answer kid questions. And remember that some kids might not be able to verbally ask a question. Please pay close attention to that chat box. Take a look at the chat box every so many minutes to make sure that you are answering those questions that are coming up. And I tell you, you're not going to be disappointed because those questions are going to be fantastic. And like I said, don't worry about questions having nothing to do with your presentation. Have fun. They want to know you. That's what those questions are about. And you will find that when you come back for your second session and your third session, they're going to remember. They're going to remember, oh, Mr. David, have you had any Neapolitan ice cream lately? And I can tell you the answer will be yes. And or have I had pasta? Well, as it turns out, I had pasta yesterday. And I'm going to be eating pasta again tonight. So share with them those answers, and you will find that those faces, those beautiful faces, are just going to show these beautiful smiles. So they want to know you. That's why they're asking these questions. For your presentations, be as creative as you wish to be. Add videos, photographs, music, if you know how to use Kahoot. Add these to your presentations, and it will help keep them, focused. And but I have to say again, my experience now, literally, I think it's hundreds of hours of seeing, participating, and listening, and getting feedback from kids have said to me that these kids are joining these lessons because they want to, and they are looking forward to what you will have to share. So add as much as you want and have fun at it. And don't worry about not finishing your presentation. This is not about completing a pilot's checklist. This program is not about that. It's about giving these kids 60 minutes where they laugh, where they know that you didn't pressure them, where they know and feel that you were happy to be there with them, where they know that for you, it's not the lesson that's important. What's important is connecting with them. So if you do not finish your lesson, that's okay. This is where you can say to myself and Margaret, hey, love to do a second lesson, and we'll be jumping up and down. We will schedule you for a second lesson and a third lesson if you wish to do. But know that each lesson that you give, it's an incredible gift that you're giving these kids. So don't worry about not finishing. You can come back a second time and a third time. I've experienced that myself. And you find that you actually look forward to the fact that, hey, I'm going to be able to continue my lesson at the next session. The other piece too is that even though you might say to me and Margaret, look, I really would like my lesson to be for kids ages 5 to 8. We will put that information up in Ukraine for kids to see. We will put that this session is for kids ages 5 to 8, but be ready that very likely you're going to have kids of other ages joining your lesson. I was actually asked why that happens by a volunteer, and I said, well, picture this. Imagine yourself in Ukraine, there's a war. What are the options? The option is to be looking out the window. In some cases, you don't want to do that because of the danger that that could possibly cause. But for these kids, when they see something that might not necessarily be for their age, they join because it's a way out of their reality. That's why they join. So if it is a session for kids ages 5 to 8, but suddenly you realize that there's somebody that looks like he or she's 15 or 16 or 17, welcome them. Just see them and say, so nice to see you. Wave at them and you will be able to see their names. Let them know that you're happy to see them. Again, you're giving these kids an incredible, incredible gift. So, and for these moms that are joining these lessons, it's an opportunity again for them at the end of the day, as she's putting her kids to bed, to be able to talk about that incredible lesson. And maybe there were, about volcanoes in the Andes, or kangaroos in Australia, or the beautiful beaches of Thailand or Singapore. Just welcome everybody, and you will find that you will have an incredible session where there will be so much joy that at the end of that session, I need to say this to you, you will have a hard time forgetting these kids. You will, sure, the session will end, by their faces, their voices, you will not forget. Triggers, something that we need to be very careful about. They're experiencing a war. So as we do our sessions, we need to be extremely careful that we're using appropriate words, that we don't surprise them with loud noises and sounds. These kids have heard and seen, felt enough that they're experiencing a lot of anxiety. It's what we call this moment, point in their lives, trauma. So we avoid sounds, words, comments, gestures, body language that could possibly remind them of the war. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, my goodness, this is something that I was not aware of, and that I'm not sure if I'm able to do that. Well, I can say to you that we have lots and lots of volunteers that have been doing sessions that are doing extremely well. All I'm basically saying is that you have to be very careful and sensitive. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you are doing a whole lesson on dinosaurs. Now, we don't know what dinosaurs sounded like. Maybe they sounded like chickens. I don't know, I have no idea, but maybe they were very loud. But let's say that you are doing a whole lesson on dinosaurs and you think that, sounding like a dinosaur is going to add to the excitement of your lesson. Well, if the kids are not ready and suddenly you just blurt out and you just yell some loud noise, you could potentially trigger an emotion, a negative emotion on a child that's there watching you, that we don't want them to experience. So whatever we do, we have to do carefully. And if it's something that could potentially trigger an emotion, we give them the heads up. Just that simple. So let's say that again. Let's talk about wanting to sound like a dinosaur. You can say that right at the beginning of your lesson. You can say, today we're going to be talking about dinosaurs. And you're going to hear me at times, sort of make sounds and noises like dinosaurs did back millions of years ago. Then the kids will be ready. And so we prepare them. I had an email come to me from a science teacher who was also very worried about her experiment, beautiful experiment. And she was so worried because she actually had to light a match. And she said to me in that email, I'm a bit worried. Do you think that the flame could possibly trigger a negative emotion? And I said, I don't know. And because I don't know, we're going to have to make sure that we don't surprise these kids. So what we did is that we put that information in the description of the lesson. We basically said in that lesson that teacher so-and-so is going to do this lesson, and during the lesson, she's going to be lighting a match. So the kids were ready. But what she also did is that at the beginning of her lesson, she also just reminded kids that she was going to do that. So did anything happen? Nothing. The lesson went as planned. Kids had a fantastic time. She had a fantastic time. And at the end of the lesson, those kids really felt like they had gone for a walk at the park. So be careful, just be sensitive. Maybe you can have somebody else take a look at your lesson. The other thing that I would suggest is that to watch the 39-minute video on trauma-informed practices that we downloaded to our Facebook page. And it's a 39-minute video put together by a Monash University professor by the name of Dr. Burgess. And she gives this 39-minute video of things that we need to be aware of when we're dealing with kids who have experienced trauma. So my advice to you, if you have 39 minutes, to please go to our Facebook, and I will share with you the link at the end of the session, and watch that 39-minute video, because it's going to provide you with all sorts of details about how to ensure that you have a session that kids will have, a fantastic time in, where they will find that at the end of that session, they're going to feel calm and feel that, yes, they've had a beautiful day, even though they're living this horrible reality. If you're asked about the war, there are some key things that you need to be aware of. And it is likely that because they don't know you, they might actually ask you, how do you feel about this war? Well, we don't want to go into a conversation with these kids about the war. And the reason for that is that we're only there for 60 minutes. We're not there after those 60 minutes. The mom will be. And what we want to make sure is that when their session ends, the mom will have a kid who's calm, who's ready and happy to share with her mom or her mom, what the session was about. We don't want a child who's teary, who is feeling sad, depressed, because suddenly she remembered that there's a war outside their walls. So if you are asked about the war, here are things that we would like to share with you. Express that you care about Ukraine. They will appreciate that you've said that. Just simply say, I care about your country. And they will hear your voice. They will, see your face, and they will know you mean it. You can also say to them, look, that you think about their country often, and that you hope that for Putin to end the war. They will appreciate that. And you will find that when you make these statements, they're not going to come back for more information. They will be feeling like you understand what they're going through. You can tell them that you wish Russia stopped invading Ukraine. Nothing wrong with saying that. And the other one is to call it the Russia-Ukraine war. What we know is that Putin still, even after all these months, still doesn't call this a war. He's come up with all sorts of descriptions. So when you say to children and you say, yeah, the Russia-Ukraine war, they will know that you are aware of the reality, and they will appreciate that. And again, my experience has been that they will not go beyond this, and they will remember your words, and they will feel that, again, you care for them. All these are Zoom sessions. The actual Zoom link comes to you just the day before your presentation. It's not going to come 5 days before your presentation, 10 days. I know that anywhere else where there's no war, often we get Zoom invites, Google Meet invites days prior to the actual meeting. That doesn't happen with our Zoom links. We want to make sure that these Zoom links are secured. So we send these to the volunteers the day before your session. You will have a Ukrainian host who will assist you with translation. So you're not alone. So don't think that you're going to be there with 300 kids all by yourself. You will have a Ukrainian host, and I have to say they are amazing. They're extremely helpful. They have literally done dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds of these sessions supporting volunteers. So they are experts, and they will be there to support you in any way they can. They will keep an eye on the kids. They will make sure that everybody that's supposed to be at that session is there. And if you have any difficulties with maybe some kid who is not able to say something in English, that's where the Ukrainian host comes in and will be able to translate for you. So the Ukrainian host plays a huge part in this, and they do a wonderful job. When you come in, let them know that you have a presentation yourself and that you will be a host. So just let them know that you need them to share with you the screen. And often they do that automatically without even waiting for you to say anything. They just say to you, okay, you're a host now, and that's when you can start your session. So that happens right at the beginning. And your session itself will start right when it's time. So if you have said to Margaret and I, Margaret, David, I want my session to be on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Kyiv time, that's when your session will begin. It will not start at 2:55 or at 2:50. You will not be allowed in till it's right 3 o'clock. And the reason for that is that we have consecutive sessions happening. So it's very likely that one of the hosts is finishing one session, and then the same host is going to start another session. And so you need to basically just wait there. They're not going to forget about you. They're going to have tons of kids. They're going to be waiting for your session. So if it's at 3 p.m., that's when suddenly you're going to see the screen saying, hey, your host knows that you're there and that you will be let in soon. So just be aware of that, and no need to worry if you're finding that it's 3 o'clock right now and we haven't started yet. Things that help: have a Ukrainian flag in the background. Boy, they will sure appreciate that. I have a big flag in my office that I use. If you do not have one, my suggestion to you to please print one. Just simply print one and have it somewhere where they can see it. They will sure appreciate that. It's just a silent way of letting them know that you are thinking about them. Also, do not blare your background or have virtual backgrounds. And the reason for that is that we want children to see your room. Right now, they're experiencing a lot of strange things, a lot of people that they don't know. So if you suddenly blur your background and they can't see what's behind you, and again, these kids are experiencing a lot of anxiety, stress, and trauma, they might wonder, what is this presenter trying to hide? So I always say to volunteers, please allow children to see your background. And it doesn't matter suddenly if they hear the dog barking, or can see the dog, and they can see maybe your father or your grandparents visiting. That's okay. They very likely they will ask you, hey, who is that person behind you? That's an opportunity for you to share with them who that person is. They might even ask you about that painting behind you or the bookshelf and what books are you reading? I see a lot of books behind you. So allow the children to walk into your room. And it's like really, truly inviting them into your home. So my suggestion, do not blur your background. Now, there are some exceptions. Let's say that you happen to be doing a lesson on the solar system. You can put that on the description where you can say, hey, for the next lesson on the solar system, see if you can have a virtual background of the solar system. And that's where you yourself, when you show up, that's where you can have planet Pluto behind you or Jupiter or Saturn, and they will know that obviously that is connected to the lesson itself. So that it's okay. And but give them a heads up. If suddenly you're doing a lesson on volcanoes and you have planet Pluto behind you, they're going to wonder, how does, the solar system, what does it have to do with volcanoes in the Andes Mountains? So again, connect it to your lesson and you will find that they will understand the reason why you have that virtual background. This already I mentioned the times and days needed. Basically 10 a.m. That would be the first session. That's when it would start. The last session would start at 7 p.m. We only think in terms of Kyiv time. So you will have to figure that out in terms of where you're located and how many hours ahead or how many hours behind you are Kyiv time. But basically, again, 1 hour sessions between any time between 10 a.m. in the morning. The last session started at 7 p.m. And days, Monday to Saturday. Of course, like I said to you, Saturday right now, it's a day that unfortunately, because we do not have enough volunteers, we're sort of hoping that we'll be able to have soon. But right now, we don't have Saturday available. But again, we're hoping that in the next few weeks, we will be able to add Saturday to our schedule. So what will I need from you to schedule your first presentation? So these are the things that you will need to share with Margaret and I, that Margaret and I are going to then share with the team in Kyiv. First, a short biography, 2 to 3, 4 sentences, no more than that, basically in terms of who you are. We're going to put that in English, and then the team in Ukraine will translate it to Ukrainian. So a short sentence, 2, 3, 4 sentences, just enough to let the kids know who you are. So name, your profession, where you're from, just simple things. The next one, a title of your presentation, short title, Volcanoes of the Andes Mountains. Short title just to catch kids' interest. Description of your presentation, again, 2, 3, 4 sentences, no more than that. Just let them know what your session will be about. That will provide them with enough information to make a decision as to whether or not they wish to join that session. So just enough information to make them think about what you're going to be doing. Age. So you might say to me, David, yeah, ages 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, that group. And we will put that on the information that we give to our Kyiv colleagues. But be aware again that you might end up getting a kid who is 12, 15, 18 joining your session. And if that happens, welcome them. And if they join with their moms, welcome their moms. And give me a couple of days and a couple of times, just in case the first time and day that you give us, it's already filled by somebody else. It's highly unlikely that's going to happen, but give us a second day and a second time, just in case your first ones are already taken. That will ensure that when you send us that email, we're able to basically return that email with, hey, we've scheduled you for this date and this time, and that you'll be ready to go. If you need to cancel, and things do happen, I've had to cancel. I remember getting a phone call one day from my doctor and saying, David, I have an opening. And basically I had two choices. One was, okay, I can basically just tell them that I'm not available today, or say to these kids ahead of time, look, something has come up and I need to reschedule. Kids in Ukraine are totally fine with that. What we struggle with is when people do not show up. And unfortunately, we have had that experience where volunteers just didn't show up because something did come up, but they just simply did not let us know. So imagine this, there's a host, the Ukrainian host, and you have 100 kids, 200 kids, or maybe it's just one kid or two kids, and they're excited. They read your lesson description, they know the title of your description of your lesson, they know your name, and they're waiting for you. And suddenly you don't show up. it's one of those moments when I have to say to you that I feel extreme sadness because I know how important these lessons are for these kids. So if you need to cancel, let us know and we will do that. No problem. We will let the team in Kyiv know that we need to reschedule and the kids will be totally fine with that. If I need to change your time or your date, I will let you know as soon as possible. And that does happen. For example, fairly soon, we know that it will be Ukraine's Independence Day. And there are all sorts of things that people in Ukraine are quite concerned about in terms of the war, how Russia might actually respond to Ukraine's Independence Day. So we received notice this morning basically saying, look, we need to cancel Wednesday. And can we please reschedule these sessions for another day? Our response was immediately, yep, absolutely. And what we did was to connect with those presenters and we let them know that, look, this is happening and we're going to have to reschedule your session to another day. You know, I know it can be disappointing, but, you know, they're going through a war and I definitely would not want to be in their shoes. So we apologize for the inconvenience, yet we're going to be making those important decisions that, you know, ensure that kids are safe, the staff at Smart Osvita is safe, and that sometimes requires us to cancel sessions. So what we say to presenters to please check their emails more often than they do the day before their session. Just, you know, first, because you're going to be getting the Zoom link, but just in case there's an email from either Margaret or myself saying to you, look, we need to reschedule. And this is what's going on. This is what's happening. And we're going to be sending you another possibilities for another date and another time. So please check your emails more often than you do the day before your session, just in case we have to cancel. Last, this is unlike anything you have ever done before. And I know that the world has experienced a lot in the last couple of years because of the pandemic. And I know that a lot of educators and workers have had to do a lot of Zoom meetings, and a lot of people have not been able to visit their colleagues, and a lot of kids were not able to go to school. Yet, this takes it to a totally different level. These kids are in the middle of a war. And there will be times when they will share brief things with you that are not going to be easy to forget. We know situations where we know not too long ago, one of our students lost her dad. So when you are doing these sessions with these kids and you see their faces and you understand where they are living and what they're going through, at the end of that session, you're not going to be able to just simply sort of cut things and just forget about it and then just move on with something else. You're going to remember their voices. You're going to remember their faces. And you're going to remember those questions like, what is your favorite ice cream flavor? And I know that they might not seem like important questions, but for these kids, these are important questions. And you will know that this program really is touching lives in ways that we never could imagine before we started this. This program is really truly saving lives. It's creating lifelines to these kids who, before this started, you know, were not thinking about their future. They stopped dreaming. And what we do every day when we come on, we remind them that there are lots of people that care, that we're here for them, and that we will be with them for as long as it takes, that we care. So if you find that it's too difficult, I say to volunteers, look, you let us know how much you can do. Maybe it's only one session that you can do. And please know that if it's one session that you are able to do, we are thankful that you were able to do that session. You have given these kids a beautiful gift, these moms a beautiful gift. Julia has expressed that many times when I've spoken to her. this incredible gift that Sophia is able to enjoy every day as she sits in front of her computer and listens to all these very interesting people throughout the world share their beautiful stories. So if you share one, we'll be thankful. If you can share more, we'll be thankful. Know that, again, these are beautiful gifts and we will support you in any way that you can. So, but important for us is take care of yourselves. If you need to take a break between sessions, take a break. If you need a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, take a break. We will be here waiting for you, and we'll support you in any way we can. And last, share this program with others. For this program to continue, it requires that we sustain it with a lot of volunteers. So talk to your next door neighbor, talk to your colleagues. And they might come back and say, oh, but look, I'm not a teacher. You don't have to be a teacher. If you have an interesting story to share, if you have a hobby, if they have an interest that kids would love to learn from, about, connect with us. Let us know. Send us an email to smartosvitacanada@gmail.com and just simply share that story with us, and we will be able to give you feedback in regards to what you're explaining, what you're sharing with us, a description of your lesson. And 100% of the time, it will be, yeah, we're ready to go. This sounds like a fantastic idea. And don't worry about, oh, well, maybe somebody else has already taught lessons about the solar system. That's okay. We're pretty sure that your lesson on the solar system will be totally different than the one that somebody else, did. And remember that there are literally thousands of kids displaced throughout Ukraine. So it's very likely that the kids that you're going to get are kids that didn't get to see that other lesson that somebody else did on the solar system. So with the number of kids that need our help, it's very likely that you're going to be presenting this topic to a group of kids that have never heard anybody else talk about the solar system. So connect with us, and we'll be there to help you. And please visit our Facebook page. There's a link. And Margaret and I are here to answer any questions that you have. And we look forward to hearing from you. So thank you. And again, we're here to support you in any way that we can. Thank you very much.